If I were the devil, if I were the devil, if I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree, thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions, just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Say, well, you can't have a poll tax. They can say you can't have a gas tax or a cigarette tax or anything else. Federal government's telling states pretty tough what their business is. Now, you can say that they can't discriminate, but I've got to prove that it discriminates, and I can't prove it in Texas. There are more niggers voting there than there are white folks. There are more of them buying poll taxes than there are white folks. Higher percentage of them. And I can't show that the literacy test that discriminate against because they haven't got any. They got no test at all. Just like God, anybody that can get up and pay $1.06 can vote.
As a black minister, would you please explain why you haven't explained to told your congregation of the evils of Planned Parenthood? Everybody's talking about being woke. Woke! Woke! And you didn't know that Margaret Sanger? You didn't know that Margaret Sanger said this? We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. Margaret Sanger, founder of Planned Parenthood. Now, this was written in 1939. So how are you going to be woke? How are you going to be a woke church and don't know this? This is old. This is old. You bishops and pastors and leaders out there, if you haven't told your congregation about the #1 killer of African Americans, an organization that kills more African Americans every 2 weeks than the Klan did in its entire history, you are not qualified to use the word woke. For you are the epitome of being asleep You're asleep.
The facts about abortion don't lie. Over 60 million abortions have taken place since the Supreme Court's Roe v. Wade decision of 1973. Over 78% of abortions are surgical, but chemical abortions have risen to 22%. 44% of women who've had an abortion have aborted a baby before. 85% of women who had abortions were unmarried. 1 in 4 women will have an abortion by age 45. Since 1995, the number of abortions has fallen significantly, from 1.3 million in 1995 to a little over 900,000 in 2016. But isn't nearly 1 million abortions of children too many? How many great minds, loving hearts, and unique talents were ended before they had the chance to change our world and better the lives of all of us?
22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. They see that the whites are so evenly divided that every time they vote, the race is so close, they have to go back and count the votes all over again. And which means that any block, any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You can keep Johnson in Washington, D.C., or you can send him back to his Texas cotton patch. You're the one who sent Kennedy to Washington. You're the one who put the present Democratic administration in Washington, D.C. The whites were evenly divided. It was the fact that you threw 80% of your votes behind the Democrats that put the Democrats in the White House. When you see this, you can see that the Negro vote is the key factor. And despite the fact that you are in a position to be the determining factor, what do you get out of it? The Democrats have been in Washington, D.C. only because of the Negro vote. They've been down there 4 years. And all other legislation they wanted to bring up, they brought it up and gotten it out of the way, and now they bring up you. And now they bring up you. You put them first and they put you last. Because you're a chump. A political chump. In Washington, D.C., in the House of Representatives, there are 257 who are Democrats. Only 177 are Republicans. In the Senate, there are 67 Democrats. Only 33 are Republicans. The party that you bash controls 2/3 of the House of Representatives and the Senate, and still they can't keep their promise to you because you're a chump. Anytime you throw your weight behind a political party that controls 2/3 of the government, and that party can't keep the promise that it made to you during election time, and you're dumb enough to walk around continuing to identify yourself with that party, you're not only a chump, but you're a traitor to your race.
Black folks is in an abusive black leadership relationship.
We have to send a message. This is the time for us to send a message.
We always talking about what the Republicans ain't done for us or what they will do to hurt us. My life has been hurt by Democrats.
And we got in our mind that we always got to keep voting Democrat. You know,
Look and see in your community, who are the real oppressors in our community? They always talk about black on black crime. And when you hear the word black on black crime, the first thing you think of is a black man robbing you, a black man breaking in your house. And that is a black on black crime. But let's take it one step further. There's a black on black crime down in City Hall. There's a black on black crime down in all the state capitals in America, where black folks are voting against our interests, where black folks are voting and making us, we're getting poor and poor, and other groups are getting richer and richer.
everywhere you go, there's poverty in black areas.
This is where I stand at right now. Ida B. Wells, public housing residents to live at. Most of the people are homeless, living in the street. And it's because of you, Mr. President.
In Detroit, where your leaders at? There's no white folks running Detroit, cutting water on black folks in Detroit. Them black folks running that city. Ain't no white folks doing that. Them black folks going along with that. Everything's happening in our community is black leadership doing this.
Our children know that if the Democrats have not done anything for us as of yet, why should they even go out and vote? What agenda's on the table is going to change their life?
The only thing they're offering the black community is abortion on demand. This is what the president asking for us to vote for.
Now he wants to have this conversation about minimum wage raise because he knows that this is the way to get a lot of the poor people's attention. But to hell with his minimum wage raise. We don't have any jobs. A minimum wage raise for what?
They're not pushing a black agenda. They're not pushing a family agenda. They're pushing a neoliberal agenda.
Across this city, in these major democratic cities, this is what it looks like.
How can the same process happen over and over again and nobody got nothing, can't do nothing about it?
Black leadership is abusing us. The Democratic Party is abusing us.
It's the same way in every black community across the country.
And they force us into a life of welfare. We don't want no welfare. We want opportunities to go to work. We want opportunities to own business. They bailed out all of the major banks and these big investors, but left the people starving.
There are no Tea Parties in your city.
We don't have those people. We have a major democratic machine, and the majority of them, they look like me. These are the people who make sure we get nothing, but then turn around and have us to vote for them again.
They only come around when it's time for elections. When they think they can give you a toy or give you a turkey or something, and everything is good.
Hundreds of millions of dollars are coming down from the federal government. But the money is going to all these special interest groups. My brother's keeper went to his friends. This whole corrupt democratic system that gobbles up all the dollars and starves the people out. Can you all look around your community and see any change that have come about with these hundreds of billions of dollars that have come through our cities? No, you cannot. What we do see is our elected officials riding around in new cars, and they have new homes.
When our people don't have jobs in our communities, when we don't have any vital resources, when all the deals been cut, and all our people are left out, this is where we end up.
And we got the most important thing that we got that we can stop all this. Everybody got to vote. And if you use your vote wisely, you can stop a lot of this stuff.
The president apologizing for his repeated promise that everyone can keep their health care plans if they choose to under Obamacare. It's a rather stunning reversal because, as now everybody has heard him give assurance after assurance for years that if you like your plan, you're going to get to keep it. We, of course, know that to be false. Some people will lose their insurance plans even if they like them. And just moments ago, the president spoke to Chuck Todd of MSNBC and responded to the anger that some Americans feel about that promise right now.
I regret very much that what we intended to do, which is to make sure that everybody is moving into better plans because they want them as opposed to because they're forced into it, that we weren't as clear as we needed to be in terms of the changes that were taking place. And I want to do everything we can to make sure that people are finding themselves in a good position, a better position than they were before this law happened. And I am sorry that they are finding themselves in this situation based on assurances they got from me. We've got to work hard to make sure that they know we hear them and that we're going to do everything we can to deal with folks who find themselves in a tough position as a consequence of this.
You are listening to a live feed. Of course, this is me live. As you can see on the screen, I have posted where you can now find me rather than Facebook. I will be signing off from Facebook as of midnight tonight. This is November the 13th. Of course, you can say it's Friday the 13th or whatever. I will be signing off from Facebook. You will not be seeing me post. You will not be reading my post. If you want to read or find me, you can do so by the information that you see on the screen. You can find me at Parler, or Parlay, as some will call it, .com. I'll be at I May Be Wrong. You can find me now at MeWe. MeWe is the alternative social media network to Facebook, and you can find me at the link that you see there at MeWe.com/I/Alfonso Ashworth. You can find me there. I'll be posting. I've already started posting there, and some of my best material. Facebook has been suppressing people for so long. All you get is garbage. All you getting is garbage. It's just being regurgitated. Think about it. All you doing is just sharing other people's opinions, other people's thoughts, other people's memes. Of course, you got your photos on here and your videos. Let me tell you something. As a rule, you should regularly download your content from Facebook. They can suspend your account at any time they choose. And once they suspend your account, you will never get that data back, and there's nothing you can do about it. So we're moving forward. We're going to move forward with this. We're going to make this happen. And regardless of what happens going forward, whether people move to find me at MeWe or whether you find me somewhere else, that'll be strictly up to you. I'm not trying to force people to leave Facebook. I'm just giving you information. I'm sharing information to let you know there is an alternative. You can also find me. You'll also be able to find me on my website at I May Be Wrong, but I Don't Think So.com. If you'd like to find me there, I really appreciate it. I'm not too worried about this election in regards to the President Trump versus a President-elect Biden. I'm really more concerned about what's going to happen, what's happening in our government overall. The corruption is at an all-time high. It's at a level that I've never seen before. It really is. It's at a level that I'm flabbergasted, if I can use a term like that. If some of you can remember those terms, I am flabbergasted. And I think Facebook, they're playing games right now because I think they've blocked me. I think they have blocked me or are blocking me. You may be able to see what's going on. I don't know. But I can assure you this, the show must go on. The show must go on. That's an old entertainment term from the circus era. When, of course, and another term, one monkey don't stop no show. So Facebook, Twitter is not the end all, the beat all. Of course, I see that Buddy has posted in the chat room where he says, "Let freedom ring, Al Ashworth, through all the nation of the world. Feel free to share any of my posts as you wish or find necessary until I familiarize myself with the tools of a new destination and a new location of your show. Looking forward to it." You can find my show every week, as usual, at I May Be Wrong, but I Don't Think So.com. That's the easiest way. If you go to my website, the show will broadcast as usual. And also, I have a chat feature on my website. You can actually chat as usual, just like you do on Facebook. You can chat. You can have a private chat with others. You can chat with me anytime. You can join my chat. My chat room is called The Furnace. So I've always been prepared to leave Facebook and Twitter. I've always had a backup plan. I never was caught, as someone would think. I had someone imply that they actually running me away or casting out demons. I think that's sort of ironic. I'm more prepared than most people for these challenges. So I had a backup plan already. I already have a website. I already have a video server. I already have all my videos backed up. I don't need Facebook to back up all my photographs. I back up my own photographs. I've been in the photo finishing business since 1986. I have every image I've ever captured on film and on digital backed up. Every one of them. I have clients to this day that will come to me and ask or ask me that, do you still have my negatives from where you shot my wedding? Absolutely. So I've been Facebooking before Facebook. I was doing this before Twitter. I was doing this before MySpace. Matter of fact, I was on the cutting edge of the desktop computer boom. I was in the industry. I worked in the industry. I remember Windows when it was introduced and Apple when it was introduced. So don't give me this jive or this garbage about, you're running me off or you casting out demons. You have no idea what you're talking about. So let's get that straight. As I said before, this will be the final day of me broadcasting on Facebook, and I'm going to go back and play a few clips for you, and I may come back and finish up some thoughts.
Absolutely is don't send your children accompanied on trains or through a bunch of smugglers. We don't even know how many of these kids don't make it and may have been waylaid into sex trafficking or killed because they fell off a train. We have no way of tracking that. So that is our direct message to the families in Central America. Do not send your children to the borders. If they do make it, they'll get sent back. More importantly, they may...
Then came Barack Obama. We supported him.
This is Louis Farrakhan praising
he was a community
Barack
organizer.
Obama.
I had never met him, but my chief of staff at that time, Brother Leonard, knew Barack Obama, and we backed him with money and with the help of the FOI to get him elected. Barack Obama became a U.S. Senator. This part of the story I will leave for another time. But he visited me. That's all I will say. And he threw his hat in the ring to be president.
You've been bamboozled. You've been tricked. You've been hoodwinked. This voice that you're hearing on this audio clip is one Louis Farrakhan. Louis Farrakhan is the biggest anti-Semite in America today. Louis Farrakhan is one of the biggest race hustlers in the United States. Continue to listen to Louis Farrakhan talk about him praising Barack Obama and how Barack Obama came to him as a community organizer, and they supported him as a community organizer, and they helped him get the Senate of Illinois. Listen.
Of the United States. And Farrakhan, at our Savior's Day convention in 2008, spoke kind words about my brother. But Hillary had already said she wanted to be president. So she and Barack were locked in a battle. She was battling the Clintons. So when there was a kind of a debate with NBC's star reporter Tim Russert, my name came up. And all of you that want national and state prominence, sometimes I am the litmus test to see if white folk can do anything good for you. And some of you are so weak and so cowardly that...
Now you listening to Louis Farrakhan, the leader of the Black Muslim Church, of course, and of course he's a very powerful individual in the United States. But as you just said, as you just heard him say, and I'm gonna kind of put it in a nice little neat package for you. Louis Farrakhan and the racist in this United States helped put a racist Marxist in the White House. Where we are today, the reason I'm leaving and not going to use Facebook any longer as my platform is because social media decided to join individuals like Louis Farrakhan and deceive the black community into electing a known racist, Joe Biden. They used Joe Biden to get Barack into the White House. They needed a soft tone. They need to soften that tone. They needed to use an elderly statesman that they knew people would at least trust. They felt comfortable with Joe Biden. People really never listened to Joe Biden very much. Joe Biden was not only a serial plagiarizer, he was a serial plagiarizer. Joe Biden was best friends with Robert Byrd, the senator from West Virginia who was a grand cyclops of the Ku Klux Klan, the KKK. So the enemy of my enemy joined forces. You have Louis Farrakhan, Black Liberation Theology, Jeremiah Wright, Acorn, the Chicago Machine, all the forces at work to put Barack Obama into the White House. Barack Obama's term ended, but they needed another term to finish off the deal. Hillary Clinton was going to be Barack Obama's third term. She was put in place to finish the deal. And the American people rose up and say, no, we're not going to allow that to happen. They elected a complete outsider. They elected a non-politician to go to Washington and drain the swamp, build the wall, drain the swamp. The media and their plutocrats in Washington, the bureaucrats in Washington, joined forces with people like Louis Farrakhan and anybody else they could get to join their forces to attack Donald J. Trump and get him out of power, and to continue this road that we're on towards socialism, communism, and eventually the destruction of this nation. Who will come along and pick up the pieces? Well, let me play this little audio clip for you.
In order for a culture to maintain itself for more than 25 years, there must be a fertility rate of 2.11 children per family. With anything less, the culture will decline. Historically, no culture has ever reversed a 1.9 fertility rate. A rate of 1.3, impossible to reverse. because it would take 80 to 100 years to correct itself, and there is no economic model that can sustain a culture during that time. In other words, if two sets of parents each have one child, there are half as many children as parents. If those children have one child, then there are 1/4 as many grandchildren as grandparents. If only 1 million babies are born in 2006, it's hard to have 2 million adults enter the workforce in 2026. As the population shrinks, so does the culture. As of 2007, the fertility rate in France was 1.8, England 1.6, Greece 1.3, Germany 1.3, Italy 1.2, Spain 1.1. Across the entire European Union of 31 countries, the fertility is a mere 1.38. Historical research tells us these numbers are impossible to reverse. In a matter of years, Europe as we know it will cease to exist. Yet the population of Europe is not declining. Why? Immigration. Islamic immigration. Of all population growth in Europe since 1990, 90% has been Islamic immigration. France, 1.8 children per family. Muslims, 8.1. In southern France, traditionally one of the most populated church regions in the world, there are now more mosques than churches. 30% of children ages 20 and younger are Islamic. In the larger cities such as Nice, Marseille, and Paris, that number has grown to 45%. By 2027, 1 in 5 Frenchmen will be Muslim. In just 39 years, France will be an Islamic republic. In the last 30 years, the Muslim population of Great Britain rose from 82,000 to 2.5 million, a 30-fold increase. There are over 1,000 mosques, many of them former churches. In the Netherlands,
look, you've been warned. You've been warned more than once. I think this country has been warned many times throughout our history. We've been given many warnings about turning away and turning our face from God. People hated Trump because he spoke the name of Jesus in the White House. They hated Trump because Trump turned away from abortion. They hated Trump because Trump held the Bible. They hated Trump because Trump evoked that he was in solidarity with Israel. He moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He then set out to bring peace to the people in the Middle East. They hated this man. And many of you who voted against Trump, not voted for Biden, but voted against Trump because you said he was texting too much or that he was mean to the media. Well, let me give you a little reminder. Jesus says when he returns, he's not coming back to bring peace to the world. For all you out there that's saying, well, Jesus, will you please come back? I'm telling you, Jesus is not coming back to bring peace to the world. He's already come to save those that were lost. So get yourselves ready, because if Biden is in the White House as of January, the pandemic will continue. They're going to take more control over this population. They're going to shut us down even further, and they're going to destroy this country's economically. Otherwise, they would have agreed with Trump. We had the greatest economy the world had ever seen. Jobs were at an all-time low. The media couldn't argue that. The Democrats couldn't argue that. It was a fact. The stock market was at an all-time high and stayed there. Gasoline prices under $2 in most places in this country. Half of what people were paying 8 years ago. So if you voted for Biden because you hated Trump, then get ready for probably the greatest disaster you've ever seen in this nation, and you can't beg it away. And if you continue to stay on formats like Facebook and Twitter, they are going to control the narrative. They're going to control the message. I'm almost positive they're going to interrupt me just any time now, because that's what they do. They send threats. They send warnings. They block information. They shadow ban. And if you choose to stay here, let me tell you, continue to back up your data. That's the best advice I can give you. If you want to keep your posts and your pictures and your videos and all the little things that you've had over the years with Facebook, you need to make sure they back your data up and they share that data with you. Now, let me finish this.
50% of all newborns are Muslim, and in only 15 years, half of the population of the Netherlands will be Muslim. In Russia, there are over 23 million Muslims. That's 1 out of 5 Russians. 40% of the entire...
By the way, China is starting to try to control their Muslim population. Russia is trying to control their Muslim population. Is out of control. Now, when it's out of control in places like Russia and China, what do you think an open border is going to do to the United States? What do you think is going to happen when Biden reverses the Muslim ban that Trump put in place to keep terrorists out of this country? What do you think is going to happen? Are you that naive? Surely not. God forbid you're that ignorant. Let's continue listening.
Our Russian army will be Islamic in just a few short years. Currently in Belgium, 25% of the population and 50% of all newborns are Muslim. The government of Belgium has stated 1/3 of all European children will be born to Muslim families by 2025, just 17 years away. The German government, the first to talk about this publicly, recently released a statement saying, "The fall in the German population can no longer be stopped. Its downward spiral is no longer reversible. It will be a Muslim state by the year 2050. Muammar al-Gaddafi of Libya said, "There are signs that Allah will grant victory to Islam in Europe, without swords, without guns, without conquest. We don't need terrorists. We don't need homicide bombers. The 50+ million Muslims in Europe will turn it into a Muslim continent within a few decades." There are currently 52 million Muslims in Europe. The German government said that number is expected to double in the next 20 years to 104 million. Closer to home, the numbers tell a similar story. Right now, Canada's fertility rate is 1.6, nearly a full point below what is required to sustain a culture. And Islam is now the fastest growing religion. Between 2001 and 2006, Canada's population increased by 1.6 million, 1.2 of those immigration. In the United
You know something? Most people are not listening to this about the fertility rate. You realize that more people have puppies and pets for children than they do children. I'm not kidding you. That's the trend. I'm not slamming people. I love pets. I love animals. But animals cannot run the government. Animals cannot teach our children. Our fertility rate in the United States has been dropping for years. If not for immigration, we wouldn't have many people as other countries. If not for the immigrants who come here and make a life here, who become citizens. Because our families have gotten smaller and smaller, because we become more selfish. We're in that cycle that I've talked about many times, that Alexander Tytler talked about at the beginning and the end of a democracy. We are in a very selfish, apathetic, dependency type society. People have pets that they dress up for their, like children. They have no children. They choose not to have children because they want a career. They want to travel. They want to do. Look, you're being taken over and you don't even see it. The Trojan horse has been here and now it's about to be revealed. Biden says that he's going to bring back Islam back into the White House. Donald Trump got rid of Muslim Brotherhood, kicked their tails out of the White House and out of government. Unfortunately, some states have chosen to go that direction, like Wisconsin and Minnesota. In those places, they choose to elect people who do not believe in the Constitution and do not believe in the Bible. See, I'm just going to tell you like it is. They're probably blocking me. I don't know if this message is barely getting out there to the average person listening because Facebook shadow bans. And what shadow ban does, what it means is they won't allow the feed to go out to higher number of your viewers. So that way they can control the message. But let me finish up with the Muslim demographic.
United States, the current fertility rate of American citizens is 1.6.
1.6 fertility rate in the United States, and you don't want to hear it, don't want to speak it, and don't want to see it because you are willfully ignorant. You think somehow or another that your life is more important than what God ordained, something called family.
With the influx of the Latino nations, the rate increases to 2.11, the bare minimum required to sustain a culture. In 1970, there were 100,000 Muslims in America.
Listen, 1970, 100,000 Muslims in America.
Today, there are over 9 million.
And this video is 10 years old. Chew on that for a minute. In 1970, there was 70,000. 10 years ago, there were 9 million. Barack Obama opened the floodgate and brought Muslim refugees here and spread them all over the United States.
The world is changing. It's time to wake up. 3 years ago, a meeting of 24 Islamic organizations was held in Chicago. The transcripts of that meeting showed in detail their plans to evangelize America through journalism, politics, education.
Boom. Boom. Drop the mic. Let me go back a little bit, because that's very important that you hear this.
3 years ago, a meeting of 24 Islamic organizations was held in Chicago. The transcripts of that meeting showed in detail their plans to evangelize America through journalism, politics, education, and more. They said, we must prepare ourselves for the reality that in 30 years, there will be 50 million Muslims living in America. The world that we live in is not the world in which our children and grandchildren will live. The Catholic Church recently reported that Islam has just surpassed their membership numbers.
And the Pope just recently recognizes the leadership in Islam and understands that Islam is just going to eventually outnumber even the Catholic Church. It's already making plans for it. It's already making plans for it.
Some studies show that at Islam's current rate of growth, in 5 to 7 years, it will be the dominant religion of the world. As believers, we call upon you to join the effort to share the gospel message with the changing world. This is a call to action.
Well, you know, the call to action has already maybe gone. The call to act has already passed. Just prepare yourself for what is to come. I was right when I predicted that the pandemic would be used to win an election. I was right when I told you that Fox News was not a conservative news outlet and that it was anti-Trump all the way. I was right about that. I was right when it comes to the fact that we are in a place right now in America where it's more acceptable for you to burn the American flag than it is for you to fly it. That's where we are. It's more acceptable for you to throw a rock through someone's private business than it is for you to stand up for a business. It's more acceptable in America for you to burn a community than it is for you to build one. That's where we are. And Joe Biden oddly talks about unity while at the same time is bringing in the religion that's going to destroy our Constitution. He said it in a video recently. I don't have to play it for you. I'm not going to play any more videos for you. If you want to find out what I'm doing, you want to find me and want me to be fully unvetted and fully full Monty, so to speak, you can find me anywhere except Facebook and Twitter. And soon you won't find me on YouTube. I'm working that out as I speak. But as of right now, as of midnight tonight, this Facebook page is going dark. But you can still find me at of course, you can still find me at MeWe. I had my information on the screen, and I will put it on the screen once again for you. If you want to share, if you want to follow, if you want to find me, you can find me at parlay.com or Parler, as some people call it. And I may be wrong. It's pretty easy. Come there. You'll see my post. Parler or Parlay is more like Twitter. It's not so much like Facebook. It's more like Twitter. You can find me at MeWe. If you go to MeWe, you can find me at the link that you see on the screen. That link, of course, is MeWe.com/I/Alfonso Ashworth. That's pretty easy. Find me there. You can request to follow, and it's not really follow, and it's not really like what you see on Facebook, because I'm not going to have a lot of the garbage on my new pages. I don't care about your opinion. If I cared about your opinion, I would come to your page and ask you for it. That's what I couldn't get. I couldn't get some of these trolls to understand that wanted to come to my page and spout their nonsense. I don't want your opinion. If I did, I would come and ask you on your page. Most people, if I visited their page, it was to wish them a happy birthday or to congratulate them for something that they had accomplished. So they would come, they would try to attack me, and I'm not putting up with that nonsense. But anyway, you can find me at MeWe if you want to find me there at MeWe.com/I/Alfonso Ashworth. You can also find me at the moment. You can still find my videos at YouTube. Just go to that link. It's a pretty long link. I do have a channel there, and there's a lot of videos up there from past shows. But the best way and the easiest way to find me all the time, anytime, is at I may be wrong, but I don't think so.com. Go to I may be wrong, but I don't think so.com. You can chat. I do have a chat feature there. You can post. You can view. You can go listen to all my podcasts from the website. You can read blogs that I have there. You can also, if you want to purchase some of my merchandise, T-shirts, coffee mugs, and things like that to support the show, you can do that as well. You can also purchase my books as well from that website that will take you to my author's page, which is alfonsoashworth.com. So if you go to alfonsoashworth.com, you can get one of my several books that I've published over the years, mostly inspirational books. I do have a conspiracy novel that I wrote many years ago, finished up No Snow Days, which is a biography, and I'm working on a new book called I'd Rather Be Fishing by a Wedding Photographer. So I've done a lot of things. You can be a part of that. If you would like to get a signed copy, just order from my website. As I said, I'm giving people an opportunity to follow or find me on Parler, Parlay, or on MeWe, and also you can find me in other places as well. We up against a lot of things happening in America. I'm one of these people that say live and let live. I am. I'm not going to interfere with what you do with your life. I mean, if you live a gay lifestyle, I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to attempt to harass you. I don't mean I have to accept that lifestyle, but I'm not going to harm you in any way. You can live a lifestyle that you choose to live. If you're a person and you want to seek an abortion, that's between you and, in my opinion, God. People say it's between you and your doctor. No, God gave you that gift. That doctor, I hope the doctor didn't give it to you. And if he did, I hope he's married to you. But I'm just saying, if you choose to abort that child, which the word abort is sort of a soft way of saying murder, because murder means the taking of an innocent life. And there is no more innocent life than a child in the womb. Now, we can debate the semantics about the heartbeat and all that, but if you can't answer the question, when does life begin, then that's a little bit above your pay grade. If you can't answer that simple question, when does life begin, and answer it with a degree of knowledge and a degree of honesty, you can guess. But if you don't know, isn't taking an innocent life a little bit much? If you don't know when life begins? So that's my argument, and I'm going to stick to it. Matter of fact, that's been one of my biggest arguments, because if we don't have life, we don't have liberty in this country any longer. This country is in trouble. That's why I'm taking the time to come here and try to continue to convince you that you have to make a decision. You have to take a stand. Is Facebook and Twitter that important to you that you can't make a stand against the tyranny and against the aggression that they've taken against others? They have literally shut down the other voices of opposition. This is how Biden was so easily accepted. You know, Biden, he didn't even have to campaign. The media campaigned for him. He didn't have to campaign. The media campaigned for him. That's exactly how he got in. This is why when they asked Nancy Pelosi about the debate, she advised Biden. I keep wanting to call him Obama because that's what it is. That's a Freudian slip. When I say Obama, Biden, it's because they're the one and the same. But she advised Biden to not even debate. Why? Because they knew the fix was in. Why did the media protect him? Because they knew the fix was in. Why did his campaign manager, when asked, can Biden win from the basement? Say absolutely. Because they knew the fix was in. Why would anybody say otherwise? The fix was in. No way. No way. Somebody as low key, low energy, plagiarizing, children hair sniffing, bubbling and babbling person like a Biden could get 77 million people to go vote for him. Do you realize that's more votes per capita or per population than any other president in the United States has ever received? And that includes George Washington. And you're going to buy that? And the fact that all the votes seem to come from large urban cities in mostly blue states, you bought it. And like anything else, what you buy, you're going to pay for. Some way, somehow, because free is not free. Free college is not going to equal free college. Free health care will not equal free health care. Somebody's got to pay. And it's going to be you, and it's going to be your children in high taxes. They're going to promise you free on the front end and take it from your wallet while you're not looking on the back end. In hidden taxes. You're not going to be able to afford a home. Houses are at an all-time premium right now because of the market. But the next generation is not going to be able to afford a home by the time the Green New Deal gets done with how you build your home. A $300,000 house is going to cost you $1.3 million by the time they add all the cost in. What do you think is going to happen to gasoline when they get rid of fracking? What do you think is going to happen to your energy costs when we have to now go back and buy from Saudi Arabia again? And OPEC has control of the pump. And you're going to be standing at the pump crying because you got to pay $6 a gallon for gas. And you're an idiot going to turn around and still vote for those people who did it to you. Because you don't know any better. You don't educate yourself. You don't know the facts. You don't know the history. So they do it to you every time, just like they did to the black community. Like Malcolm X said, every 4 years, they come and get your vote and give you nothing in return. You're a chump. You're a political chump. Now, what have they done? Pull the wool over your eye, telling you they just elected the first African-American female. She's not African-American. She's female, but she's not African-American. The worst thing is she's a far-left progressive who when she was Attorney General for California, wanted to legalize prostitution. She sent thousands of black males to prison for smoking marijuana, then laughed about smoking herself on a radio program. Now they want to legalize marijuana? What about the ruining of all those black young men's lives? They'll never get it back. What about Biden and his crime bill? Hundreds of thousands of black men were sent to prison for crack cocaine, while their counterparts who used powder cocaine were given slaps on the wrist. What about those lives? Those lives matter too. And while you're out here marching that Black Lives Matter, the most dangerous place for a black child is in its mother's womb. Venereal diseases at an all-time high. HIV at an all-time high. And if that's not enough, the drug abuse and the alcohol abuse is enough to leave these babies with disabilities they'll never recover from. So you want to tell me that Black Lives Matter? When you lead in the industry and aborting them? They don't have a safe place to live? Many of them go to schools that you wouldn't send a third world person in. crime on the streets that's being hidden, by the way, right now. I'm giving it to you right now. You can take it, you can leave it, you can do whatever you want to with it. But I am leaving this platform. I have never been more convinced than I am right now that that's the right thing to do. You know, I've never been a person that went along with the crowd. Never have. I've always wondered, maybe I think differently, but I've always wondered, why is everybody standing in that line? Have they not even looked at any other option? No, because that's sheep. That's what they do. They follow one another. A sheep will follow another sheep to its own destruction. And if it were not for the sheepfold, if it was not for the shepherd, most of them would be consumed by the wolves. That's how blind they are. And that's where we are right now in our population. I see that there are a few out there that's chimed in. Thank you for listening in. I'm going to say it again one more time. If you want to follow me, if you want to leave Facebook, you don't have to really leave Facebook. There's ways for you to minimize your footprint. There's ways for you to hide your post. There's a way for you to be basically invisible on Facebook if that's what you choose to do. Some are just choosing to leave it all cold turkey. You know, just delete your account or deactivate your account. You know, you can deactivate your account for 30 days. That's an option. You can deactivate that account, give you time to go to another platform, or you can use two platforms until you get used to the other. It took me about 3 or 4 days to get used to MeWe. I love it. I actually like it. I think it's a whole lot simpler. It's a whole lot cleaner. You're not going to get those pop-ups, those warnings. It's ad-free. You're not going to be given advertisements. They're not going to be spying on you and sending you an ad because you went and looked at a website. Next thing you know, you're getting those pop-ups on Facebook advertising to you. How you think Facebook makes the money they're making? You think they're doing it because they give it to you for free? Are you that naive? No, advertising. Now they become publishers and editors. Now they're telling others what they can and can't publish. Thought it was a free platform, didn't you? Me, I did. So yeah, you can find me at MeWe. You can find me on YouTube on my recordings. You can find me also on podcasts. Go to my website. I may be wrong, but I don't think so.com, and you can go to my website and you can download and share my post there, or you can also follow my podcast. But I think I've taken up more time than I really wanted to. I just want to remind you that if you are on my page, that as of midnight tonight, and maybe before, this page and will go dark. Also, my page, I may be wrong, but I don't think so, it will also go dark. You can keep your other pages that you have. Most people do. You can, a lot of people have more than one page on Facebook. Some people have several. But I'm just choosing to make this my option. And you can do whatever you want to do. But of course, I'm going to take you out of here with a audio clip from Paul Harvey. You love listening to Paul Harvey. When I was in high school, and my electronics teacher, he was a Navy guy, toughest guy I ever had as a teacher, but he was a great teacher. And one of the things I liked, one, he didn't talk a lot, but he taught well. And when he was having us do some of our work, he would turn on Paul Harvey, and that's how I sort of got hooked on Paul Harvey. And that's probably how I became more of a conservative, is just listening to other people versus what I had been grown up listening to. But listen to Paul Harvey, what he says. He says, if I were the devil, and I'm going to take you out with this.
If I were the devil, If I were the prince of darkness, I'd want to engulf the whole world in darkness, and I'd have a third of its real estate and 4/5 of its population, but I wouldn't be happy until I had seized the ripest apple on the tree. Thee. So I'd set about, however necessary, to take over the United States. I'd subvert the churches first. I'd begin with a campaign of whispers. With the wisdom of a serpent, I would whisper to you as I whispered to Eve, do as you please. To the young, I would whisper that the Bible is a myth. I would convince them that man created God instead of the other way around. I would confide that what's bad is good and what's good is square. And the old I would teach to pray after me, Our Father, which art in Washington. And then I'd get organized. I'd educate authors in how to make lurid literature exciting so that anything else would appear dull and uninteresting. I'd threaten TV with dirtier movies and vice versa. I'd peddle narcotics to whom I could. I'd sell alcohol to ladies and gentlemen of distinction. I'd tranquilize the rest with pills. If I were the devil, I'd soon have families at war with themselves, churches at war with themselves, and nations at war with themselves, until each in its turn was consumed. And with promises of higher ratings, I'd have mesmerizing media fanning the flames. If I were the devil, I would encourage schools to refine young intellects, but neglect to discipline emotions. Just let those run wild. Until before you knew it, you'd have to have drug-sniffing dogs and metal detectors at every schoolhouse door. Within a decade, I'd have prisons overflowing. I'd have judges promoting pornography. Soon I could evict God from the courthouse, then from the schoolhouse, and then from the houses of Congress. And in his own churches, I would substitute psychology for religion and deify science. I would lure priests and pastors into misusing boys and girls and church money. If I were the devil, I'd make the symbol of Easter an egg and the symbol of Christmas a bottle. If I were the devil, I'd take from those who have and give to those who wanted until I had killed the incentive of the ambitious. And what'll you bet? I couldn't get whole states to promote gambling as the way to get rich. I would caution against extremes in hard work, in patriotism, in moral conduct. I would convince the young that marriage is old-fashioned, that swinging is more fun, that what you see on TV is the way to be. And thus I could undress you in public, and I could lure you into bed with diseases for which there is no cure. In other words, if I were the devil, I'd just keep right on doing what he's doing.
Good day.